So we're moving into this era where you can see historically, I mean, what we've seen so far is the patriarchy. We've seen a lot of just really strong masculine energy. It's been built, it's been infrastructure, it's been industrialization. And we're kind of switching now, moving into this more soft age of Aquarius where the feminine is starting to kind of leak in. And there's this fluidity, even with gender, we're seeing it. And we're seeing men big. Like I was saying, when Kobe died, it was so striking to me to see men like Shaquille O'Neal on this massive global stage crying, mourning, grieving, and being so open with that. That's the age of Aquarius. That's just where we're moving. And it even makes me want to cry now thinking about it, because that's what the little boys need to be seeing, is that, oh, my hero can cry because his friend died. That's okay.
Hey, Nicole, what do you get when a former corporate CEO and a do-gooding executive walk into a recording studio?
Well, Erin, nothing, because the two of us are usually on my couch or Zoom, because wine.
You get a podcast created for Gen X women who are bought into the corporate world, but fed up with the BS.
I know. It's how to thrive the 9 to 5 or 6 or 7.
It's career therapy. It's comedy. It's definitely full-on authenticity. Basically, we give you tangible strategies to rise in your career without compromising everything else.
Because work doesn't have to suck.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Because Work Doesn't Have to Suck podcast, where you know the drill. We help mostly Gen X-ish leaders and other people in corporate America who feel like they should be at the top of their game, but they really don't. And, a big part of that is the BS that they deal with. And we are here to help you make work suck less and actually thrive more by doing things different, bolder, more authentically. And speaking of authenticity, full disclosure, two things. One, I sound a little bit like crap because I'm at the tail end of COVID. And I don't know why I sound so stuffy, because I really wasn't congested. Got a hit with my second occurrence. Both of them have been in the summer. It's very weird. But doing better. Almost back to normal. 90%. Just sound like crud. I'm also sitting in the back seat of my car at my daughter's cross country practice because, well, first of all, youth sports are like their own category of mental health crisis. When 10 to 11:30 practices are thrown on your calendar, like last minute, the week before school starts, and your kid can't drive yet on their own. They only have their permit. And so it throws things in a tailspin. So we do what us working mothers do and get creative. So today I'm just staying here. I'm sitting in the back seat because she's super paranoid. She doesn't have COVID. So she's made me sit in the back seat all week while she drives around. And I'm coming on to introduce, we're going to replay an old podcast. And here's why. When we were traveling out to the Mall of America last week, I was talking to the lead that we worked with, his wife. We had dinner. Amazing woman. And we got into a conversation about sort of all things like spiritual and Enneagrams. And we were talking about human design, and she's a big podcast listener. And I recalled, I'm like, we have this incredible episode we did about 4 years ago where my nanny, our part-time nanny / my like business helper / good friend, had done human design on both me and my family as well as Nicole, and explains it. And so I recommended it to Sarah, but I was like, I want to go back and listen to it. Like, is it a bunch of crap? And I don't listen to our episodes very often, mainly because I don't like to hear my own voice. But I went and listened, and I was so drawn in, and here's why. I mean, it starts off, I'll warn you, it starts off, the three of us are in the room. So there's a little talking over, which Nicole and I tend to do sometimes, but it gets better. So quality improves, but why I'm like, we have to play this again, because there's so much power in Kaitlyn's message as she explains human design. And in particular, this forgiveness that it allows us to give ourselves for not even just not being perfect, because that's so big, but for our faults and our creative process and our lack of motivation sometimes and why we do things the way we do things. And I think that's the power in a lot of these things, but human design is really, it's super, super interesting. People don't talk about it as much. It's actually, it's based on your birth date and your birth time, but um we put it to the test with my family, and every single person in my family, she predicted what they would be, then inputted the information, and that's exactly what we were. And I want you to listen, and if you're not a woo-woo person, I get it. I always say this. I was a math major, talk about it on the podcast. Like, I didn't believe any of this shit. Really until I got older, and quite frankly, when I spent so much time with Kaitlyn and just watched the magical powers of everything she did. And I was like, okay, there's some truth to woo. So we want to replay this episode. For anyone that's feeling like they're beating themselves up because, your motivation ebbs and flows, your creativity ebbs and flows, your procrastination makes you angry. You feel like you have to dig deep. You question yourself versus others and why they can do X and you can't. Like, I really want you to listen to this episode. And one statement in particular she said has sat with me for this last week. And it's about, just letting yourself sometimes be. But without further ado, I'll let you hear it directly from her and from Nicole and I. Of course, there's humor, but there's so much power in understanding this whole concept of human design, even if you don't do your own. But I think it's something really worth resharing, especially in these crazy times we're in. So anyway, enjoy this episode where we talk about human design.
Here we are, ladies, all in the same room. So I'm sitting here with Nicole. Yes, live and in person. Hello. And Kaitlyn. Hey. Episode 5, as we like to call it. Episode 5. Episode all the others. If you haven't listened, please go back and listen to episode 5. But Kaitlyn is what I call my nanny / partner / friend. If you haven't heard her story, go back and listen to episode 5. But we wanted to have her back to talk about something called human design. And so it's going to be an authentic discussion where we're going to learn about the concept of human design. And then we're also going to take a little stroll through, I think, Nicole and I's and maybe my family's a little bit. Now, Nicole has no fucking clue what human design is. I'm waiting to be designed humanely. I don't know. I have no idea what this is. So before we do that, though, maybe if you want to just give the audience a little update for those that listened to your first episode, like, so lots happened.
When was that first episode?
I think it was about 9 months ago or so.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, so much has happened in the last 9 months. I can't even believe it. It feels like it's been 10 years, honestly. Well, at this point in time, I am officially a business owner, Soul Magic LLC, based out of Glastonbury, Connecticut. I am a Reiki Master now, and energy healing, for those of you unfamiliar with the term Reiki. And I am also a certified hypnotist. So I've been fusing hypnosis and Reiki and doing human design and manifestation consulting. And it's just been an absolute blast. And I couldn't be happier.
Yeah. And so you guys know, like, Kaitlyn and I do still, like, we're very involved in each other's lives. She still helps me out a little with the kids, but the business is soaring. So we're pulling back a little bit, but we also have a course we're doing together. And also I'm just her human diary. I think
I don't really, you are.
And you're mine, right? Because, I think it's important that you have multiple people, but have somebody in your life that can keep you going and keep your energy going. And of course, Nicole and I have that as well. But the best way I can sum it up is you're a savant at what you do.
Oh, thank you.
And everybody that you touch, you heal and propel in incredible ways. And so I'm really excited for you.
Thank you.
But I'm excited to specifically talk about human design. And so for me, this is something you introduced to me maybe 6 months or so ago. Of course, first through my children, but something I still am learning. And then, of course, new for Nicole, but maybe you can just start out, like, what is human design?
Right. So human design is a system that was downloaded by, they say that now, from a divine source into this man. His name originally was Alan something, but now he went by Ra Uruhu after he encountered this intelligence, this voice that gave him this information. So he sits there in meditation for 8 days and nights, and he comes out of it with this entire system and this software and textbook, and begins to just understand people and humans on a different level. And so the entire concept of human design is that we are all souls, right? Like we're souls that are in a physical body. We are just consciousness experiencing life through this vessel. And so each physical body has energy centers that may be defined or open. And so it's really just revealing your true nature to yourself so that you can understand yourself on the deepest level, and gives you such simple tools for living life authentically, but with the least amount of resistance and maximum authenticity. And I mean, if you follow the strategy and your authority that you're given, every chart is unique. Life just flows. And I will be first to say that it truly does work. And that's what Robin Ruhu says in his book in the first chapter. He's like, you don't have to believe this. It sounds crazy. We're aware of that. But if you do put it to the test and you experiment with it, everything changes and life is just a breeze. So I've been living my strategy, my authority, my type, and it's just so easy to be alive.
So before we talk about what they are, you talk a little bit like, how do you find it? What your human design is? What are the components? What are the inputs?
Yeah. So it's funny because I remember listening to a podcast a couple years ago where I first heard about human design, and it just stuck out to me. So hopefully that'll happen to some people. And it's nice because you can just go online and you'll need your birth information, your birth name, birthplace, but you input that info and the system, the software that it's birth
Location
time and birthplace, right? Okay. Yep. So you really, I mean, you should know specifically what time you're born, because even a few minutes could change things. But yeah, you'll just put that info in, and then you'll get your rudimentary chart, and it'll walk you through the basics. And then I did a deep dive just because it spoke to me so much that I bought. There's like an advanced version that you can buy that just spells it all out for you.
Which I have to. So for our audience too, like, I was a math major. Like when I took my required sociology class that I had to take, like I left the first day and said, this book should just open up to the middle and say, shit happens.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say I'm like the biggest skeptic when it comes to, all things subjective. Now, over the last year and a half, a lot of that's changed. And so I will tell you, people, like, stick with this, because I'm like somebody that doesn't even barely knows my sign and does not read horoscopes. But where I first started believing you, and then obviously we'll get into how it's really helped me, and we'll talk a little bit about Nicole and design. But so when Kaitlyn first talked about this, she actually kind of predicted all four of us in our family, knowing us so well, the kids, myself, and my husband.
Yeah.
I think they're one of these. I think there's five. There's five total designs, which we'll talk about. And and then when we inputted the information, and by the way, we're all different.
Which is so interesting.
One
so interesting. I found that by doing this work, a lot of people kind of call in the same types around them for different reasons. Like you always attract who you need to grow your unique soul, but to have a family where every single one of you is different, that's so unique.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that anywhere. I don't Ella is a manifestor. I don't know another manifestor. I think maybe my brother is one, but they're pretty rare.
Yeah. So tell us about maybe the five different types, just at a high level.
Yeah. So, what's interesting, I want to preface by saying that in the design, you'll see the image. So I'll show you after, Nicole, what it actually looks like. But there are 9 energy centers in the body. So it kind of plays off the chakra system a bit. It's a little different, but you'll see the 9 energy centers, and then there's all these energetic gates and channels. And so when we are incarnated into this body, there are going to be certain centers that are open and certain centers that are defined. The centers that are defined is basically what's going to be consistent throughout your entire life. This is what you can depend on. It's who you are. Your open centers is the places that you can either gain the most wisdom out of life, or you can gain the most conditioning that will lead you into your not self. And that's where you'll meet the resistance, and then your not self theme. Like for us, manifesting generators, our not self theme when we're not living authentically is frustration. So that's the biggest signpost is if you're feeling frustration at any part of your life, there's something that's not authentic to who you are. So I guess we'll start talking about the types then, right?
Yeah. Just start to tell us a little bit more about like what it is. Like what?
Yeah, it's just a blueprint for you. It's just a blueprint for your soul. So everyone has a type and everyone has an authority. And your authority is basically what you will be listening to make decisions as easily and as effectively as possible. So there's, I think, 7 different authorities. For us, it's unique because us 3 are the exact same type and authority.
Really?
Which is, yeah, I know, which is really interesting.
Different too.
Mhm.
But maybe not as different as we think.
And that's what, if you see the charts, you can see the differences. But overall, we're manifesting generators. People call us man gens with emotional authorities. So that means that to have an emotional authority, what's going to happen is that before any decision is made, we're going to ride this kind of emotional wave where when something comes up, and I see it all the time, I'm sure you will too, and I'm sure you'll resonate. Something will come up and we'll kind of ride this wave where we'll be all the way at the highest point. And we're just like, fuck yes, this is it. This is amazing. This is everything I've ever dreamed of. The next moment, you might sink all the way down and you'll be questioning every single thing. It's like, you know what? Maybe that's not right
On
for
Nicole
me.
Island. That was yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, it's like literally yesterday. The quote you sent, which like epitomizes this, the quote you sent yesterday is like something to the effect of, I either give too many fucks or no fucks at all.
Yeah.
I can't find the medium
Right.
distribution.
And so we're exactly. But so I'm just saying about having an emotional authority is that we're going to ride this full wave. And even after we ride this whole cycle, we're still going to land at 75 to 80% clarity. So it's going to be like, that's where you got to start trusting your intuition. So once you know your authority and your type, then you can start using your strategy, which I'll just start talking about manifesting generators. So our strategy as man gens and generators is to wait to respond. So this can be really challenging for manifesting generators specifically because we want to initiate. We want to just get shit done because we are such efficient beings. GSD.
Yeah.
We just want to go. And you'll see it. You'll just want to just do it. We have all these ideas, but if you can start learning to experiment with waiting to respond, we have this powerful motor in our system called the sacral center that will basically, we've got all of this energy, like this constant energy, but it's not really that consistent. So that's when we wait to respond because there will be an internal urge when it's like, okay, now it's time to go do those 7 things I was putting off. Like for me, when I was doing my website, like I had everyone I was like, I gotta do it because like that's what I need for my business to be successful. And I would sit down and try to force myself on Wix. And it was like everything that would go wrong would go wrong. It was just a nightmare. And so finally I was like, no, wait, I'll just wait. And then I remember one day I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm doing it today. And I sat there for hours. I got every single thing done, got all my SEO stuff done. It was just a breeze because I waited for that internal it is.
And I think for me, because I've known this manifesting generator, it really has reduced the anxiety of that, like, because we are high performing people, but then we have times where we're not, you start to be like, am I becoming a lazy person?
Exactly.
Like, have I lost my gusto? That. And it also, as I've learned sort of this new industry, if you will, and being an entrepreneur, and you sort of learn the tricks of everybody else's trades, right? Like that's part of what you do. Like, how do you successfully do X, get speaking engagements or start writing or whatever. And what I've learned is a lot of those techniques don't necessarily work for me at face value because I'm not feeling like that waiting for response. I'm not feeling that burst of inspiration. If I can instead like soak it in and then have an idea where I'm like, well, I'm not going to do exactly that. I'm going to do it this way. It's similar, but it's different. And then that's where I plow through. And so it's really for me, like, reduce the level of anxiety when I have those moments when I'm not in my flow or I'm not able to get something done. Like the newsletter that we were talking about today.
I've definitely even seen that, like, since we came back from Nashville, like definitely sort of a more natural response that you've had to like some of the inputs that you're getting that are like inspirational and felt like action items, but instead of just being like immediate action, it's like, oh, let me find the right place for this. And I've definitely seen that in you. And I think it's something I've actually admired. I'm like, I get down. I actually, this happens to me a lot where it's like, I feel like I I know that I can't, I've always known I can't force myself to do things.
Right.
But then I would just beat myself up about it.
Exactly.
Rather than allowing myself like the time to.
I think that that's something that's society has kind of drilled into our heads is that you have to work hard to be successful, and working hard is like the virtuous thing to do as someone who wants to be successful in their career. It's not fucking true.
Yeah.
And so that's a complete fallacy.
Condition that since we're right. You go to school and you take tests and you either get A's or B's and work hard and like I talked about this.
And you do what you do in a linear path. Path, and like then you just, you don't jump around, suck it up, and you suck it up. If you don't have the energy to do the thing that you think you should do, then you should use that energy to do something else that you actually feel like you should do. But instead, I personally take the energy and beat myself up. So that's not useful.
Well, I'll say to that point, I have had to practice over the past few years since I've learned about human design to let myself be, and to have those moments where I don't have the energy or the drive to do anything, to just be, and just sitting there and working through the guilt and wondering, whose guilt is this? Because it's not mine. It's not mine. It's something that was placed upon me. And that's something that my open centers have gathered. So I've had to do plenty of work really looking at myself. And now when I have the opportunity to just be, I just am. And I just sit there and I enjoy just being without the guilt. So that's why this is they're such simple little tweaks that end up being massive shifts in your life.
Right. And by the way, those moments of just being 99% of the time end up producing way more results, because then
the magic is right there.
Whether you have a thought or idea, you have the energy to crush your website or what have you. So it's sort of like the bike pedal analogy too that we talk about a lot, right? Instead of biking in first gear, bike in third gear, you actually go slower, but you go further.
Right. That's exactly it.
Yeah. Interesting too, because it's reminding me of something I said to Erin when we first started working on the podcast, when she was thinking about like, redesigning your life. I was like, God, I just want to get away from those constant to-do lists.
Yes.
So in some ways, I think, not that I know or understand the system, but it like some of the self-awareness I have aligns with some of the things that you're telling me already. Some of the things that I know about myself or want to work on actually potentially align quite well with some of that.
Well, and I think that for manifesting generators, lists are really important. So I think it's more not eliminating the idea of to-do lists. It's more of like having the patience with the to-do list and being aware of all the things that you will get done, but understanding that you will have the inner urge to get it done at the right time. That's what the beauty of it. That's why I love my list, because I'm like, look at all the things I get to do when I have the energy to do them, because I know at the right time, I'm going to be like, I'm so excited to cross this one off my list. There's nothing like having a completed list. So I think a lot of it has to do with perspective. I did want to say back up a little bit that there are 4 overall types in human design. So there are generators, which manifesting generators are like a subdivision of. There are projectors, manifestors, and reflectors. So we've touched on manifesting generators a little bit, but we can start talking about manifestors because, like I said before, Erin's daughter Ella is a manifester. So what's interesting about manifestors is they're only 8% of the population. And these are the beings on our planet who are built to initiate. They're the ones that manifesting generators are trying to be. If you're not living authentically, you're going to try to initiate, because that's how they have to work. We get to sit back and wait for life to come to us. We have very big open auras that kind of draw life in, whereas manifestors have a very dense aura to them, which can cause people to look at them with intimidation or fear, which can trigger the not self themes. But for someone who is a manifestor, they have to go out and they have to take life by the balls and do whatever they want to do. But their strategy for doing this is to inform. Because their auras are so dense, people can't get like an energetic read of them. They're kind of scary and mysterious. And so that's why we can kind of project fear onto them. So their whole strategy is to inform the people around them of the decisions that they're making, the things they're going to do before they do them, so that fear is eased. And a lot of the times, the people around you, once they're informed, will just help you to make that dream come true.
You don't realize it's a barrier,
right?
For not just for those people, but for your
exactly
cause.
Yes.
And that's one way to break it down, is just to sort of forecast or let people in, give them a little hint.
Yep.
What made you think, Ella, because again, you predicted all 4 of them accurately. What qualities made you think that she might be a manifestor?
The first thing I've noticed was her aura. For sure it was her aura, because her aura is very like kept in. I don't know. There's something about her where she does have, it's not like a secrecy, but it is almost like a mysteriousness to her. And just the way that she just goes for it. I mean, whatever that kid wants, she does it beautifully. I mean, she wants to be the lead in the play. She's the lead in the play. She wants to learn how to make those lanterns. She sits there and she does it.
Yeah. I really thought of Ella as having like quiet resolve.
Yes.
That's how I always thought of her.
And what's interesting too is that, so when we think about human design, this whole entire system was originally developed in a sense that parents would have this enlightened parenting, that your child would enter into the earth and you would know their design and raise them knowing that. And so we were talking a little bit earlier with Erin. I feel like you have been such an incredible parent, because you're able to look at your children and see their differences, and you are fostering them so uniquely, and they're able to really thrive. And so when a manifestor is living their most authentic lives, their signature is peace. And I feel like Ella is the epitome of peace.
Yeah.
She is always so steady.
And not that she's changed 180 degrees, but in the last, I was telling Kaitlyn before, but I really believe this, in the last year and a half. And it's like, okay, was it because I left my job, or was it because Kaitlyn came on board? Because she came on board shortly before I left my job. And I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think you have inherently, because you're such a savant at this stuff, whether consciously or subconsciously, that's how you've treated them as you've cared for them. And then for me, it's definitely been more like subconscious and, just all of the inputs and things I've learned, whether it's from you and other things. There's this crazy environment that we've been able to create as sort of entrepreneurs and people following sort of our passion, our ikigai. So, okay, so that's manifestor.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I just didn't want to say to you specifically that as I was doing all this research and learning about manifestors, what's interesting is that when they're living at home with their parents, their strategy is a little bit different from informing, and the strategy is asking for permission. And that's how they thrive. And I think that Ella does that.
She asks everything.
So that's why she's living so successfully. And what's interesting too with manifestors, you have to be aware, and projectors and reflectors, is that when it comes to sleep, they have to go to sleep as soon as they're tired, and it's best if they sleep in their own aura. So that means, like, if you're sleeping with a partner, have a really big bed, because your auras are still going to be touching and your aura needs to rest. So you'll wake up so kind of like carrying all that stuff, and that's why sleep is so
interesting. I also think about, so we're going through this little thing with rejiggering the office and the workspace and the art room, and Kaitlyn's been helping me and also guiding me, not just organizing, but like, how do we sort of set the stage for the kids of what space they can have and not. And anyway, so Kaitlyn was trying to convince me that maybe the art room needs to go downstairs so that I have more of my own space. And you asked me, like, how did Ella take it? Because I broke it and also about the kitchen, her play kitchen not going up in her room. So there's a lot of things going on where we're like trying to negotiate with Ella. And it's so interesting because remember I said, well, she didn't freak out, but she sort of feels like she's on a train, because she's a fucking manifestor. And now I think about our conversation, her little wheels, and I started turning. She's going to get her way.
She is going to get her way. Sorry, the kitchen's going in a room. Yeah. Bummer.
Like, it was this quiet, like, okay, let's get the plan for,
Yeah.
So
it wasn't like a challenge.
So the playroom is becoming your office, basically.
Office and a homework room.
Okay.
There's a sort of gray line as how much of like their art stuff and their
right.
Yes. Because it has to have a balance. But she doesn't want to run the basement, all this stuff. So anyway, okay, so that's manifestor.
Fascinating.
And like, what's Nick?
So that's what's so fun. I love Mick because he's our little projector.
I thought so.
The projectors are wise beyond their years. I mean, you can see that in Mick. I mean, me and Mick were talking about past lives and what happens to the soul when we die. And I'm like carrying on this just profound, highly conscious conversation with an 8-year-old. And I was like, and I kept like putting more and more into it and getting more and more abstract. And finally we pulled up the driveway and he was sitting there and he's like, you confuzzled me. So like, good. That's all I want. You can't be more wise than I am, Mick.
There's so many mechanisms. The most recent was I was talking to them this weekend about addiction, just kind of a little bit about drugs. I mean, they're only 9/11, but just starting to plant the seed and how it can be such a slippery slope and the concept. And they're asking questions, and Mick goes, kind of like popcorners, which are those popcorn chips that have that taste like smart food. Yeah, because he can't stop eating them. And I popcorners. Yeah. That's so interesting. Like I have gotten multiple stomach aches off popcorners, and there you go. And can't stop myself from eating them. There you go. Addiction. It's a gateway drug. Gateway drug. Tell Mick I'm with him. Okay. Wow. So funny. So projectors are wise beyond their years. What else?
Yes. So they make up about 20% of the population. So they are kind of rare. What's so unique about the projector is their aura. So as I mentioned, like generators, manifesting generators, we have a really big, open, enveloping aura. Like I said, you walk into a room, people kind of notice who we are. Projectors are so unique. I know, Nicole. Even if I'm not aware. Yes, absolutely. Projector auras are so unique because they're very focused. It's almost as if there's like a kite. Yes, almost exactly like that, where they are so highly energetic beings that they're non-energy types, but they learn so much by energy because their aura kind of goes in and tastes the energy and the auras of the people around them. Mm-hmm. And this, because they're so intuitive and in tune with the energetics, they make the most fantastic guides. So projectors are not here to work. They are not generators by any shoot. They are here to be guides. And so the catch with that, though, is that they can only become a guide once they've been invited to. So they need these people, whoever they may be, to first recognize their gift, recognize their value, and then they'll get the invitation to be a guide. And once they have that, they can just dive right in and give all the information, because they see from such a higher perspective what everyone should be doing, how to live a happy life. And I mean, with Mick, I feel like that's something that I could totally see him doing when he's older.
That's so funny because I said in an earlier episode, Mick's either going to be the best salesman in the world or be a cult leader.
Yes. Oh my God, he would be a fantastic cult leader.
Hey guys, Erin here, and I have some exciting news. So I have been working on my second book, The 50% Rule, for the last few years, and it's now available for pre-order. Here's the truth. I am totally obsessed with this book. And the reasons are, first, because of the rule. The rule completely has changed my life. I use it on freaking everything. And I've used it helping countless others. So the rule is tested. It is powerful. I've been using it for 5 years. But honestly, that probably wouldn't have been enough to write a book about it. It would have gotten kind of boring. What actually happened is, over the last couple of years, what I started to see was that this rule was actually the secret, the backbone, the formula for so many people's success, famous people and things and companies like Hamilton and John Madden and Weird Al Yankovic and the Savannah Bananas and Shopify and all these. And so what happened is I realized that this rule isn't just, a self-help rule to get over your problems, which is where it started, but it's actually the thing that can help you go from underdog to unmatched. And I've seen it with many others. So I tell a bazillion stories in there. There's advice, there's research, there's, of course, snarky wit, and a little salty language, of course. I'd say it's sort of like a Malcolm Gladwell meets Jen Sincero book. So to get your copy of the 50% Rule, so you don't forget, I know it's kind of weird, pre-order, but you can do that now. You can just head over to Amazon and look for the 50% Rule, or you can check it out in the show notes below. Can't wait to share the rule with you.
Keeping it rolling with the projectors, I think it's interesting to note too that because they're meant to be guides and because they're meant to lead people, when they don't wait for invitation, which is their strategy, is waiting for invitations, whether physically or energetically, they must always wait to be invited. And they also must learn to practice saying no, because they will begin getting so many invitations the more aware they become of that strategy. So they have to really begin honing on their discernment of what is and is not right, using their inner authority. But when they are acting as manifestors and they're trying to initiate, trying to get like, let me just be your guide. Let me just give you the advice that I have because I know what you need to know. And they start just giving all that, they'll meet the resistance. They're not seen. They don't feel appreciated. And then they become bitter. So for any listeners who are feeling bitterness in their life, you might be a projector who is not living authentically.
That makes a lot of sense with Mick and his believe, achieve, repeat. Like I would go for walks on the beach. He would talk for an hour about his vision and concept. He would work on it and stuff. But then when like either asked to like explain it to somebody or like we did the video or, it was much harder for him. It was almost like this inner thing. The other thing that resonates is I think about Mick, every new teacher he has, it's about 2 to 3 months in that I either get an email and they're like, oh my gosh, but he's really funny. He has this sort of like unassuming, he does not come into the room and like, you don't realize he's going to be witty and intelligent and this deep individual. It's sort of like takes a while to really get him and understand him.
Yeah.
I think maybe
and then he can really
helps explain
allow himself to just be who he is he has to be seen first. He has to be appreciated and recognized in order for his gifts to really show. So yeah, and this also that's beautiful. I know, it's really nice. That's what I'm saying. Like you said, the system isn't woo-woo. It's not yeah. It's really just so concrete and it's just so tangible. And that's what I'm saying. Like if you start applying these concepts to your life, it is just so easy to live. And that's our birthright, is to have an easy life. I mean, you shouldn't be meeting resistance anywhere, and any challenge or obstacle you meet is a lesson that you are meant to be learning, that your soul is meant to learn. And I think that that's something I wanted to say too, is that when we think about, I mean, we are all spiritual beings in a physical body, right? Like I said before, we're all just souls in a vessel. There is this belief that people will curse their parents. I never wanted to be born. Like you brought me into this world. No, our souls chose our parents. Our souls chose the life circumstances, the body, everything that we had before we were born. Our parents agreed to house us basically because we knew that by entering this life and this family, our soul was going to learn all the lessons that it needed to grow. And so that's why I'm saying obstacles, challenges, difficulties, especially in your work. That's how you're learning so much about yourself, how you operate, how you move in the world, how you impact others. You're learning exactly what your soul is meant to learn. So we can redirect now. I want to go back to generators because we talked about manifesting generators, but a pure generator is a little bit different. And this is where Manny comes in. So Manny,
I'm just kidding. For those of you that don't listen often, that's my husband. Emmanuel.
Yes. So here's our generator. So generators, pure generators, are the worker bees. They are, if you think about who built the pyramids, the generators did. Who ordered the pyramids to be built? The manifestors, aka the pharaohs. They can just work and work and work. And when they're doing what they love, they never stop.
Manny.
Yeah, that's exactly Manny. And I think it's so interesting too, because I mean, we were talking a little bit about we're cleaning up and Manny likes to hold on to some things. And we were talking about he's going to get that moment where he's like, I'm going to sit down for a month straight and clean. And that's exactly how generators work. And pure generators operate in phases. It's like they start climbing a hill, they get to a plateau, and they're just like, I don't know. And then they'll get that urge to just complete what they've started. So that's exactly how he works. Is like he'll just like wait to respond, right? And then that's just that one moment, gotta get it all done right now. So that's what I just wanted to say about generators. They're similar to manifesting generators, but they don't have as much of the manifesting capabilities that we do. Okay. So they're more of just like go, go, go. And then
even in like the career he's chosen, like so right? Because it's like sometimes his career could be like a rabbit hole and you have to have this persistence.
Yes, to just dive through.
Right. Like that.
Absolutely.
Completely focused on the task at hand.
That's
he also says on a regular basis, I'm cursed because I love what I do.
Yeah.
And that's his way of saying, right, I'm working nonstop. It's stressful.
Yeah.
At the same time, I recognize that part of the reason is that I love what I do. And so I pour everything into it.
And
I feel that piece of like, if I'm a manifesting generator, I feel quite a bit of the manifestor you're talking about. And I feel a lot of that too.
Yeah.
That worker bee like drive, that drive to like, you can't stop until you're done.
Yes. We, as generators, manifesting generators and pure generators, we are meant to be doing work that we love. And we're supposed to be selfish in the work that we choose to do because we should be feeling satisfied.
That down.
Right? Like we should be happy about our jobs because we are efficient. We are workers. It's going to be a huge part of our life is our job. I mean, look at us. We're all kind of moving into these spaces where we found careers that we love to work at. So that's an important
to be selfish. I'm making the
I love that. It almost matches my 1-800 his law shirt that I did. So I think we're down to our last type, the ever elusive reflector. And I will say, when we were questioning what you were, I thought you were a reflector.
Really?
I have never met one. They're 1% of the population.
Really?
And I was like, if anyone's
You're such a 1%.
if anyone's going to be a reflector, I thought it was going to be you. I was so disappointed to get it wrong.
Sorry. I'm sorry that my family, my man Jen, like not quite up to the task of being a reflector. Damn it, we have to go. Let's go find a reflector. This is going to be a new thing.
Oh my God.
Reflector hunt?
Yes.
Reflector hunt.
If there is a listener out there, if you go to the website, it's mybodygraph.com. If you find out that you are a reflector, you let us know.
We're coming after you.
Yes, I need to know what you're like.
Yeah, I don't even know what this is, but I need to know.
I know. They're unicorns.
Yep. You have all the contact information, right?
Yes.
hello@theauthentic.com. We want the reflector.
Yes, please. I need to just meet one because I've been so curious. What are they going to be like? And so what makes them so interesting is that reflectors have every single chart or every single center in their chart open. They don't have any defined centers. So the way that they move through life is literally by tasting everybody else's perspectives and energies. That's how they're learning life, is by trying on basically everyone's clothes. And it's so interesting. So, and like I said before, with the open centers, there is,
but I still think she is not a reflector, even though I say we, because I was thinking, oh, if it's rare, it must be Nicole. But I still feel like manifesting generation.
Yeah,
definitely.
Now it definitely fits you better.
Okay, sorry. Well, let me ask you a question about reflectors. Like, I bet they experience some very high highs and very low lows.
Yes.
What makes them high and what makes them low?
What do you mean by that?
Like, what would cause them? What's the thing that would make them live authentically, and what would be the thing that makes them live inauthentically?
So that's the beauty of having all of the open centers, is that all of that openness in their chart can lead to serious disappointment if they feel, because it's almost as if they're invisible sometimes. It's like people don't know who they really are. So they can get completely lost in the shuffle and it's like they're not seen. And that can lead to their not self-esteem, which is disappointment. Disappointment in life, disappointment in themselves. Why can't I do X, Y, Z? And everyone else is
dominated by others.
Right. On the other hand, having these open centers can lead to the most profound wisdom by being able to learn and truly see life through this lens of just purity. They can gather wisdom that no one else has the ability to gain. So that's like the high is that they can, if they are able to digest life in this way, using that like openness to just try everything on. And what's interesting for them is that for making decisions, we are like their strategy they just have to wait a lunar cycle before they make any decision, which sounds like a long time, but because they are all lunar beings.
How long is that?
29 days. So if there's
like a period, that's how I feel.
How do I get out of it? Period, and like get through that, and then I can make a decision. But they're
menstrual cycle beings. Okay. Was what's his name? Paul, Dave. What's his name?
Alan.
It was Alan.
What was he? I have no idea.
What do you think he would be?
I would assume that he is a generator, a manifesting generator for him to create all of this stuff.
But if he can literally see and take all of this stuff,
I don't know. Well, I don't know him. I don't know. I'll have to look that up afterwards. Yeah. But I'm guessing generator, man, Gen. But yeah, so reflectors, I mean, I kind of like the word because if you think about the moon is the greatest reflector. She's reflecting the sun's light back to us in a different form. a much calmer, more serene, wise energy comes from the moon. So these reflectors, when it comes to any big decision, job related, relationship, whatever, they have to wait 29 whole days to really end up getting that clarity. And their strategy is to talk to all the people around them about the decision, what they're, and kind of try on everyone else's perspectives and pay attention to what they are saying back to them, because that's going to give them the clarity they need to make the decision.
So I can imagine for people that don't know that's what they are, I can see how they would have a lot of challenges where they might feel like, oh, I'm not decisive. I need to, I can't make a quick decision, especially we talk about the work context, everybody's like, oh, these are the qualities you need to have. You need to be a decision maker. You need to be this. You
have to be a guide, or you have to be X, Y. Like you just don't fit into any of this bucket,
right? And obviously a lot of this is helpful for your own self, but what a world it would be, what a different working world it would be. And I know all companies do different types of personalities, things like that. But like to
never
really
felt that one though.
To really like understand somebody at a deeper level like this and understand not just yourself, but how you can help others,
how does your energy connect with others? Remember, you always say that. Like,
how do you plug in?
Interesting. Yeah. What's their sleep like?
They're the same. So they have to sleep. I mean, the manifesting, that's what I'm talking about. For manifesting generators, guys, like we have so much energy. We don't need sleep. We literally don't need sleep. You wake up at the fucking butt crack of dawn. I stay up until 3 a.m. every night. I do not need to sleep.
I sleep 4 hours a night.
And I'm fine.
When I need to go to sleep, I go to sleep because it resets my brain.
Yes.
Like it's my escape, but it's not because I'm tired. It's literally just because I need to get away from everybody.
And it's almost like for us too, if we don't use up the energy that we have on any given day, if we spend a day doing absolutely nothing and we're really just couch potatoes, lazy, not doing anything, and then we try to go to bed, we are going to have the most restless night because we haven't expelled the energy. It's better, honestly, to stay up through the night and just go come church through the next day because we're not going to feel rested in the morning.
So interesting. One of my coaching clients, she, when we first met, what are the things you want to work on? And one of them was, work-life balance. And I said, well, tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's not married or kids. She's a little bit younger, but she's like, well, I have this thing that like one day a week, I really I'll work till like 3 or 4 in the morning. And then I just take a couple hours of sleep. And then I work in this other, and then I go to sleep. And so she has this where she's working a lot more that day and she's doing it in a weird way. And essentially, I sort of convinced her that that's not necessarily a bad thing. If that's what puts her in the flow. And I think a lot of people, especially this whole work-life balance, and I'm not saying don't have work-life balance. Of course, what I'm saying is look at your definition differently.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that example, sometimes I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and, in my old corporate career, I would have tried to sleep forever. I would have gotten mad and eventually got up. And now mostly prompted by me running my own business. So I'm I make my own hours.
Exactly.
But now I've learned to say, okay, if you're waking up at 3 and you have all these ideas and you have things running through your brain, it's okay.
Well, because you're
don't work. Yeah,
you're in control of your own time.
See, do it. Don't do what society would say. Oh, you didn't get enough sleep. You're gonna have to do it your own way.
Differently. And that is exactly it, Erin. Is right then and there, you're aware of the conditioning that has been pushed onto you by your parents, by society. You need to get 9 hours of sleep a night. No, we don't. We don't. The projectors, yes, get all the sleep you need. We do not.
Well, it goes back to we did an episode. Don't know the number. You probably do. My spectrum friend on work-life balance. And remember the article we found in the research, which was interesting. It actually showed that people that don't have a clear break and more sort of go in and out of work were actually more satisfied. Sort of plus the traditional definition of work-life balance. And to me, this all sort of is congruent. It's because the people that are doing it, it's not that they're necessarily working more, but they're working when they're inspired, when they're feeling, like we talked about the manifesting generator, they're doing it when they feel like they're in the flow. And so I think we have to get away from, it's just like the episode where we talked about having it all. It's all about we've defined these things and then we feel worse that we're not in the box when we feel worse about that than
the actual like problem at hand, which is, you're working too much. I don't know. Not making sense.
No,
What I'm thinking about though is like, cause I was taking some notes too about like the things that make people live authentically or not authentically, and like some of the feelings they might have in those situations. And also like trying to put myself in other people's shoes, because I think a lot of the perspective that I've had on this podcast has been obviously from this, whatever aura type that I had and the way I see the world and walk around it, obviously is my perception and how I put my energy out there. And I'm running into all sorts of people who have different kinds of energy. I mean, I also think that, like you said, kind of attract each other. Like there's probably a lot of man gens in corporate environment. There's probably a lot of us. But you might be going to the grocery store and finding something else, or you might be going to your doctor's office and getting something else. And so, if you spend 90% of your, waking day in the corporate world surrounded by man gens, and then all of a sudden you have to like switch over, right? And you have a serious issue that you need to take care of into your doctor's office, and maybe it's a different type of person or persona. Like you also need to sort of change the way or expect that you might have a differend interaction.
Yeah. Well, and I actually have a different perspective on what you said about mostly man gens in the workplace.
Yeah.
I actually think we have told people
that you're a man gen.
that you're a generator.
You're right.
The way you succeed
is by being a generator.
Right. And the reality is, I think corporate America is probably similar distribution. It's the distribution, right? Law of large numbers, but people take on a certain persona, so they're living in authentic. I mean, and when people are like, how do I be successful? It goes back to like, there's not one path to success, but we teach everybody it's this formula, right?
Yeah.
It's, executive presidents, it's working hard, it's having mentors, it's all like the stuff. And it's like, that works for a certain person, but it doesn't work.
That's a really good point, because we've also said the same thing about like introverts and extroverts. Like, everybody in the office, like to get success, you have to be an extrovert. And like people like me who don't really, like we take on that persona so that we feel like we can interact with others and be successful in that environment. And then it drains us. Like that's a form of living inauthentically. I think that's quite similar. Is exactly what you said. Like we have set expectations for what we think people need to be, whether it's introvert, extrovert, a certain type of human design, and it's actually the diversity that we need, and we need to bring the diversity to the table. We talk about diversity a lot, and then like, so how do you authentically create an environment where you can have all of these types being authentic with themselves and being happy, so they're not frustrated or bitter, right?
Like that's what's interesting now, especially in this age that we're in right now. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, which I don't know if you've heard of it.
It's a song. It's a 40-year-old version.
Oh, we're entering it right now, and it's amazing. You can see. So I don't want to be like the I want to be that thing. Like I got my flower crown.
Play it.
So like 60 is now. No, I wish that I were around for the hippie era. I was saying, because I am pretty much a hippie, but me and my roommate
You're a new wave.
Well, so we've called ourselves happies. That's what I am. I'm a happy. I'm not a hippie. I'm a happy. I like it fits me pretty well. I was going to say something. Oh, the age of Aquarius. So we're moving into this era where you can see historically, I mean, what we've seen so far is the patriarchy. We've seen a lot of just really strong masculine energy. It's been built, it's been infrastructure, it's been industrialization. And we're kind of switching now, moving into this more soft age of Aquarius, where the feminine and starting to kind of leak in. And there's this fluidity, even with gender, we're seeing it. And we're seeing men big. Like I was saying, when Kobe died, it was so striking to me to see men like Shaquille O'Neal on this massive global stage, crying,
mourning,
grieving, and being so open with that. That's the age of Aquarius. This is where we're moving. And it even makes me want to cry now thinking about it, because that's what the little boys need to be seeing, is that, oh, my hero can cry because his friend died. That's okay. So that's what we're moving into. And we'll see with this age of Aquarius that we're moving into, that the leaders of the world and the leaders that we're seeing are no longer going to be the pharaohs, the manifestors. It's going to be the projectors, because the projector, they sit up on their stoop and they see all of the gifts that everyone has. And they're able to be like, okay, I think you should do this, and you do that, and you do that. And look at how beautifully oiled that machine is.
Sounds like a puck somewhere.
Yeah. So they're the new wave. leaders, that we're going to see more and more these beautiful guides stepping into leadership positions.
Hopeful, make a president. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's you don't hear a lot of positive outlooks like that. You hear about climate change. You hear about global geopolitics and migrant crisis. And the gap between rich and poor, and inequality and disequality. So to hear somewhat of a positive future-oriented message, in energy is
well, and I think
exciting.
even this conversation that we're having is just showing us that we are moving into the age of Aquarius, that the human consciousness is accelerating at a rapid pace. So, I mean, this is going to trigger something in many of your listeners, because there are sacred truths within what I'm saying that will elevate their own consciousness, and then they will begin to know more about themselves. What makes them unique? How can they show up in the world as authentically as possible? And that's what's going to continue at these ripples. They just keep spreading. I said to Erin, I want my legacy to be that I'm turning lights on all over the globe. This is a great way to start. So we all do have a unique purpose and way of being. It's just a matter of having the courage to uncover that for yourself and living it without regret or without fear of judgment from others.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it would be a great place to end, but I'd love to just ask you, like, on that note, anything that you would give advice to Nicole? Because as you know, like, this is
We
spent a lot of time
on
her journey and my journey as well.
and we're both manifesting designers,
Yeah.
so we can both learn about how we.
And it is my goal to
Interact.
get her to like that gem in that place.
Yeah.
Note taking.
Well, so when I was looking at your chart, one thing you can dive into human design forever. There is the intricacies of the system. I am still very much a student. I am not an expert by any means. I am constantly learning more and more. But one of the aspects of human design is that we all have a profile. And your profile is kind of like the character you're playing in this life, basically, is how I think of it. For you, Nicole, your character, you're the heretic investigator. So I'm not sure what
I
those
love that
words.
it's a big word.
Right. I know.
You know what it means?
Yes.
What does it mean?
A heretic is like someone who is like a disbeliever, or goes against the common truths,
Like a deviant a little bit?
Yeah, like they're seen as undermining the system, or like the standard belief system.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, what I thought was so interesting about this profile for you is that you are attracting people who will come to you, projecting onto you that you are going to be the best at whatever it is, the best partner, the best worker, the best at whatever it may be. They're going to be projecting this onto you, and they're going to be placing expectations on you that may not be realistic. And when you are not meeting those expectations, you will be looked at as the Antichrist. And that's when that's a fulfilling prophecy right there.
No match there.
Right. And you'll just like, oh, you want the Antichrist? I'll give you the fucking Antichrist.
She has showed up before, for sure. For sure.
Oh my God. Well, so I thought that was so interesting, because you can if you have a very stable foundation, that's so important to your profile, is to have a foundation that is solid ground.
Talk about this a lot.
And I was saying to Erin, like before, I had this image in my head of like you personally being on this foundation that's almost like a house on stilts, and those stilts are starting to wobble, and the house is starting to fall. And then at one moment, that house is going to fall, but it's just going to land on the earth, and it's going to be on that true foundation. And then from there, I mean, your profile, you are built to influence the masses. That is who you are meant to be. But you have to have that steady, that solid foundation before you can really step into that power, because you're meant to affect your acquaintances, your friends, your family, everyone around you, strangers. That's what you're meant to do, is to inspire and give people practical advice. So another thing that's important for your profile is reputation. Reputation is a huge element, and having a good reputation is so crucial to your everything.
I have fallen on the sword of integrity many, many times in my life, and I am far from perfect, but which is different than ego.
Totally.
It is.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of ego, one thing I did want to mention is how we have been trained in this society to use our mind as our inner authority. The mind is a wonderful tool for analyzing, for logical thinking, but the mind should never be your inner authority. Ever. Don't listen to the mind. Don't listen to ego, because it'll just fuck you up. It has no idea what it's doing. It's just taking all of the data it's received from everyone else. And it's like, oh, it should be this way. When instead, if you're tapping inside and listening to that inner authority, your emotions, or if you're a splenic being, your intuition, that's what you listen
So
to.
the ego is like all your insecurities,
Yes.
like in a whole
All your
one.
fear, everything like that.
So if insecurity and fear is like your inner authority, you're basically fucked.
Yes. And you will create circumstances, draw in experiences, people that are not great. Because if your mind is running on a loop of fear, you're going to attract fearful situations. If you are operating with distrust, you will attract distrustful people. So that is something now I have learned so much to listen to my inner authority of my emotions that I don't listen to my mind. My mind turns off. I turn it on when I need it. It's a tool for me now. And that's it. That's how I look at my mind. And it's taken a lot of time.
Is that like
training?
the gut instinct? Like
Totally.
go with your gut.
Yeah. And that will be more so true for some types and others, depending on their authority. But
The mind will lie to you.
oh yeah.
And we
say
will lie
what
to
it wants
ourselves. But the gut is hard to ignore.
Exactly. So
And you are not your mind. That was something
No,
I
I listened to a couple weeks ago, and somebody I was listening to, and yeah, essentially like it is an organ just like other organs.
Yes.
Like you are not synonymous with your mind.
Mhm.
It is a piece of you.
same with your body.
Yeah.
You are not your body either. That's what Buddha says.
Mm-hmm.
You are you. You are your soul. These are tools for you to use, your mind and your body. Take care of both of them so that your soul can express itself fully
Right.
and live this life as richly as possible.
Very cool. So a lot of there's a lot of things I recognize in this to be truths, or at least hard-earned for things that I have perceived to be true in my life. There's quite a bit here that it's true. I've talked a lot about sort of having one foot in like this traditional life and one foot out in like the world, like doing all the things. And I always sort of come back to my roots. And this has been very confusing to people, even to myself over time, but that household still analogy makes a lot of sense to me. And I think what's interesting about this is that there are many pieces here that I have often thought were like bad qualities about myself, but I think are actually just like who I am.
Yeah.
You know, they're just who you are. They're not good or bad. You don't have to ascribe any value to it. It's society's interpretation of these things.
Absolutely.
And then it's the reflection back onto ourselves that ascribes value to it. So what's interesting about the system is that it's not a value judgment. It's simply just a map.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
I can follow a map. Like I'm an analytical person.
You're
Like,
really,
I
I
like
think you're really
maps
good
a lot.
with
I do like maps a lot. There are maps all over my house, right?
Yeah.
I love maps. Me and maps, we're bad. We like each other a whole lot. Like, things are where they're supposed to be. They're labeled.
Yes.
No wonder why I like maps so much. There's a little bit of art, and there's a little bit of truth, and there's a little bit of science.
It's all wrapped
It's all wrapped into one,
Yeah.
which potentially is similar to what he says.
So how can people learn about theirs, right? So
Right.
you mentioned
You'll see it more and more human design popping up. And when someone says, oh, I'm a man, Jen, you're going to you're a projector. And it just gives you such a better understanding of who they are. That's why with every client I encounter now, as soon as I know their human design, I know so much about them that it just makes the hypnosis, the Reiki, everything so much more powerful. There's so much more depth to it. So if you want to go on and find your own chart and kind of start picking around at it yourself, which is what I did initially, you can go to mybodygraph.com. And like I said, you'll need your birth time and place. But if you are local and you want someone to hold your hand through this process of learning, you can go check out soul-magic.com. And I've been doing,
do they have to be local? You have clients.
no, I know. I just like people in person, but of course we can do sessions over Skype and FaceTime, whatever is easy.
Come to Connecticut. It's worth it. You can also have coffee with us. You know, who knows? We record a podcast.
It's so funny. Ella lately's been on this kick. Like what people come to vacation in Connecticut for?
I'm like,
I come for Kaitlyn Soul Magic and to meet us and to meet tourism and pizza. And pizza. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is fun. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We'll talk to y'all later.
Hey, it's Erin with a teeny request. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast and you'd like us to stick around, plus you want it to continue to grow so we can kind of swindle bigger and more knowledgeable guests to join us and to keep providing you with tangible and inspiring actions you can take to achieve the career and life you deserve, could you please just take 1 minute to leave us a rating and a review? Those reviews go a long way in attracting guests to the show, and candidly, they really make Nicole and I's day. We see you. We really do. So when you have the time and inspiration, we'd love to see a rating and review from you. Thank you.